What's good, people? It's Dan with the Corporate Thief Beats. What's good, people? It's Dan with the Corporate Thief Beats, and you're checking out another beat showcase. Today I'm going to be showing you a beat that I believe has a summertime trap, kind of old school vibe, and it's similar to something that Drake or Rick Ross would rap on, or there's other artists as well that I feel like it would sound good on as well, like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, that kind of artist range. But really, a lot of the emphasis I feel that I got from this beat is a Rick Ross kind of Justice League feel from it. And it's a mixture of trying to create a sound that sounds like you sampled something, but it's actually modern. As well as that, there is a nice effect in the song, which is a common trait that's in a lot of instrumentals these days, is the use of vocals as almost an instrument within the song. Now, a lot of Drake, a lot of Bryson Tiller, a lot of Rick Ross's beats, they use a lot of these vocal chops within the mix to kind of act almost like a pad sound, and or to add like ad-libs within the beat, and it just gives a whole new dimension to the beat. It adds a fresh flavor, and it keeps it lively even if the beat itself has kind of been repetitive. It just keeps it interesting, keeps the listener hooked to the beat. But this has this real summertime vibe in it. It's got a nice lead in it, and it's got some good drums. I'm pretty proud of this one. I spent a lot of time working on it. There's a lot of different sounds, a lot of different elements, but it gels so well together, and I could really hear Rick Ross on this beat. And I'm going to play it for you first. I won't be able to play all the section of it. There's a link in the description to hear the complete beat, and it's available at thecorporatethiefbeats.com. This beat is called Make It, and the BPM is at 124. And I'll just play some snippets of it so you get a vibe of what it sounds like. And I'll pause it there. You can hear it's got a really cool vibe. It's that summer Miami time sound, and I just think a rapper would really like to kind of play with this beat. It's got a good idea for a hook. It's very commercial sounding, very easy listening, very drive time listening, and there's a lot of pockets in there for a rapper to kind of really experiment, but still keep it simple, to have a kind of common boom bap style rap over the verse. And even because the chorus is so melodic, you could even just rap in the chorus as well, which is pretty cool, which is pretty unique. You don't even have to have a singer in there. You could get a female vocalist on there, or you could have a male vocalist, but it's actually so melodic that you could have a rapper on there rapping too, which is pretty cool. So we'll just start off with the elements. Now, there's a weird start to this. I kind of experimented with this. This is kind of like almost like if a DJ was just remixing it at the start. So it jerks itself into the beat. Okay, we'll just see what I've done. So I've basically just chopped up my kicks from the verse, and I've just played a standard kick over and over again. and it's just hitting on like almost like a 4 on the floor beat, like from a dance song. It's almost like a dance song there, and it's hitting on the 4 on the floor every time. It's pretty weird. It's like not very common in hip hop music, but just to get the start of the song off, it sounds pretty unique to just kind of build the attention. It's a different way of opening up the song as well. It's a good, I use it at the end of every chorus as well, and in the middle of the beat as well, just to kind of trick the listener and give the rapper some dimension to play with his raps as well, or her raps. So we have a little boost at 100 hertz and a little boost at 350, caught at 10k. That's for the kick, and I've parallel compressed that kick as well. I'll show you that later, but we'll just take a look at the snare. And there's no snare actually in this section here. Yeah, there's no snare in this little section here. And we'll just, I think there's some hi-hats. And again, they're just playing, they're following the kick as well. And it just keeps the beat going, just following the kick over and over again. Nothing too crazy there. We'll just take a look at what I have. I have some stereo spread on my hi-hats to keep it wide. Sound a bit dirty without the EQ. Sound a bit bland without my reverb. Just a little bit of cleaner. And my EQ, I have it boosted by 4.5 dB. We'll just take off the EQ and nice bit of life to it. Just a little bit of life, that's all I needed to it. And this hi-hat, just open hi-hat, just hits at the start of every fourth bar, or every second or third bar. I think it comes in, and I would kind of strategically placed in different places here and there. Next we have this this hat that comes in at this section here. So we'll just continue on with the drums, and I just get them. And this is just a loop that I found in a pack, and it just, sometimes I don't usually use loops, but this time it just fits so well I didn't want to take it out. It just works so well. It's kind of got its own, I could have recreated it, but I just liked the sound so well, and plus it was saving time by creating it. I don't mind using some loops here and there. I usually like to control it because now I'm stuck with this sound in there. So it's not always the best idea to use loops, but this particular time I tried to bend it my way and chopped it up as many different ways I could to make it work. So it has just a little bit of a roll at the end of those notes. You can see it there and there, and it's nice. There's a nice shape to it as well. And we'll play it all together. We'll just take a look at my EQ on it. So I've boosted again, the hi-hats have been boosted, and there's a little bit of stereo spread. It's a bit dead without lifeless. That sounds pretty cool. Everything seems to be finding its own space in the mix, and we'll see what comes in next. Next is the audio. Again, it's another hi-hat loop, and this comes in at the very start of it. So that's what I'm saying there. I just chopped up this little section here to make it fit in the mix. And we have some sounds here. Okay, this is kind of like I've sampled something, but it's actually a synthesizer. It's actually an ambient chords, and it's from Smooth Moving Cascades. It's an ES224 sound, smoothing cascades. 1 second now, we'll just open up the MIDI. You could picture this sound being used for a lot of different beats, like Wiz Khalifa. I can hear Wiz Khalifa in that sound as well. I can hear Kid Ink in that sound. Rick Ross was just screaming to me at that time. I just felt that kind of Justice League vibe from it. And we'll just see, this is just playing one note in this section. It sounds like it's almost elevating then as well. We'll just take out all my effects and see what they do. Bit boring. A bit cleaner there as well when I take off everything below 500 Hertz. Don't need any of that low end in there. So if I take off the EQ again, you can hear there's a piano kind of slapping down there, a very low end rumble of a piano. And you might be thinking there, it sounds better the other way, but when you mix in the bass later on, it's going to kill your bass sound. So I like to have my bass totally dominate its own section in the mix. It just makes it so much easier to mix, and it just saves so much time. If I had to keep fighting for places for the low end in this sound and the bass, I would be at a never-ending battle. So I just rip the bass out of this, and hopefully the bass will kind of fill the void for that sound later. But it's still sounding pretty cool. It's kind of just like when you're starting off a dance record or something like that. It has that kind of weird vibe, or an old 90s boom bap song as well, where the DJ is pulling back the CD or the record over and over again, the turntable. It has that kind of reverse effect on the sound. Next is the 808 bass line. We'll just listen to that, and that's just playing one note. That's just playing this one note over and over again, following the kick. Next we have my female vocal sound, and there's a lot of effects on this here. And we'll just listen to her on her own. So it's just a vocal sample that I found in a pack somewhere. I've loads of effects on it, so it's got a compressor, it's got a linear EQ. We'll take off all the effects and just see what difference each one makes. So we'll just play her. So there's a weird noisy effect on there, I don't like it. See, already the EQ is already cleaned up the vocals just a little bit. And we put on some spread on there. And we'll put on a little bit of spread there. Now we put on the auto filter, which kind of just makes it move around in the mix. Take a look at that now. See what I did on the auto filter. Sync stereo sweep. And it just kind of, if to be honest, it just pushes it back in the mix. So if you picture the mix like a curve, it just kind of pushes it right down to the back of the sound. And that's just a kind of an explanation I was given by a friend of mine a long time ago. Picture it like a box, spread the sounds around, but this time I'm pushing it like more like 3D and pushing it back in the mix with the auto filter. The same with the bit crusher as well. The bit crusher is acting like a little bit of like a compressor, a little bit of reverb on there. And we have one final compressor, so it's heavily processed. And that sample comes in and out of the mix. There's another sample that comes in here as well. We'll just kind of play this just so you guys can see. I'm pretty sure it has the same, effects on that there as well. It's the same vocal. It's the same vocal sample, but I just kind of tinkered with the vocals. I kind of pitched it down. You can see I pitched it down to 12 dB and just moved it around. That's all. So it says low format. So if I just move that, take that off. And it's just a weird effect that I put in the middle of the song. I think it really suits it. It seems like a common thing that's used in hip-hop beats as well. And I like when it comes in. It's a nice element to put in there as well. These are all like transition effects as well. They're building the momentum of the beat, plus they're guiding the rapper in the song as well. So there's a bunch of reasons why you use these kind of things as well. Plus it's another way to make the beat interesting without having to fill it with melodies, etc., or another synthesizer. That's just my take on that section. We'll just kind of play a little bit of the verse here. So we'll just jump straight into the verse and see what we have. So we've already played the drums and stuff like that, but I'll show you the drum MIDI in a second now. Okay, we'll take a look at the drums. It's the same kick as before. We'll just listen to the. So there's a nice gap in there between the two kicks. It's pretty laid back. It sounds fast because of the hi-hats, but it's actually pretty laid back, which is kind of common on. Rick Ross doesn't rap really fast. He's a very boom bap type rapper. He's not one that kind of fires out a load of vocals in one setting. He just kind of boom baps it. He's very influenced by the 90s rappers as well, like Biggie and Tupac. Next is two snares we've already heard. So heavy with the reverb on there. There's a nice reverb there, so I'm just going to show you what the reverb is. I very rarely do what you've seen there, but the vocals, I was trying to create something new, or trying to make it sound different than the original sample. Plus I was trying to fit it into the mix as well as best as I could, and try and tweak with it. I was kind of experimenting. So usually I don't. I usually put my effects on bus channels so I can mix in, and the actual effect for the snare is the Prince Hall 1, and I think they're both Prince Hall 1, and small snare chamber. So we'll just listen to it again without any reverb. So dry. A little bit of an EQ there, a little bit of a boost there at 3K, a little bit of a dip at 1K, just scooping out some mid notes. A little fraction of a boost there at 425. 1 second now. Put my reverb. Nice crisp sound now. Hats. You can hear the difference between the two sounds there, the two main samples that, or well, they're not samples, they're instruments, but they have that effect of being a sample. There's a nice floating there. It's got a bit of delay on there as well. As you can see, I have some 8 notes left and right there. Just making it fly around the center of the mix. A little bit of tremolo in there as well, just to kind of tighten it up. And that's the verse, really. That's everything in the verse. There is some kind of transition sections where certain instruments are removed to make a dramatic effect. 1 second, we'll just look this second. And the snare was taken out, or the drums were taken out, the bass was taken out there in this section. And I forgot to actually mention the bass. Surprise, surprise, this always happens to me. But we'll go back to that. So we'll take a look at the bass line. And there's just one weird kind of movement with the bass line. So it's kind of following that kind of sample sound, and it's following the kick. And it plays one little note up there, just to kind of loop back into the riff again. And you can hear there's an additional sound there, and you can hear that I have like an extra note, but the ESX is a little bit different here. Second now. And you can see that I've pitched it down and made it slide. So you can, I'll just play these on their own so you can hear it better. It's hard to hear with everything in there. That note there is pitched so it can slide up. It gives a better movement in the song, and I kind of do that a lot in the mix. Here the 808 is removed and it only plays one note at the end, just to loop back into the verse again. Bit different again. Let's see what we did here. I think it's the same actually. Oh, 1 second, I know what we did this time. We added in an additional movement again. I think, 1 second now. I think there's a, yeah, we added another slide on that note actually. And it's just adding different movements when we'll listen to it all together, so it might make more sense. It's very hard to make out what it sounds like when it's just on its own. And the next bit is this little gap in the mix just before the hook. And the dramatic silence and the snare hit, so it kind of explodes into the hook then. It's a common thing I do on my beats. It's kind of one of my little bit of a signature that I do. So additional sounds come in this part here. There's one called Crush Random. We'll listen to that. And that's a sound in the ESX 24 sampler in Logic. And it sounds like a very reversed sound. And they're only playing two notes over and over again. And this goes back to like my other tutorial videos where I talk about using drone sounds, very subtle drone sounds, and just using them as effects within the song. They're not really leads in a sense. This is more of a lead, and I'll get to that in a second. I just want to show you. What is it? And that's more of a lead, whereas these two sounds are kind of acting like triggers within the beat. 1 second, we'll just play it all together. That lead sound, we'll just take a look what I used to create that. So it's a very simple little melody. It's used in Salient. It's a Salient 1 synth, and we'll just see what it's called. And it's called The Saw Must Go On. It's just some kind of bank that I have somewhere. And I've boosted a lot of the highs, cut a lot of the lows, and I just made a little bit of a lead then. This is kind of like what would be considered like a West Coast whistle in that kind of a sound. But for the Miami vibe, I felt like this kind of screamed through the mix a little bit better than a whistle sound. And this kind of just gives my own flavor to the beat as well. And it goes back into this transition is important. And this is what I really like about the beat as well. These transitions, because I love playing with song structure. I love playing this kind of stuff like with so you have like the original, the first chorus, then you have the outro chorus with the lead, then you have the outro of the hook with this transition here. These are common elements in pop music and in song structures. Yeah, I could have came in here and built a pre-chorus as well, or I could have had a completely different section on this half of the verse and a completely different section on this. So there's a pre-verse and a verse, and it's entirely up to you. This time I felt like I was going on the right path. I had a nice hook, I had a nice elements, so these elements make it sound different first, because it's basically these 4 sections here, and the addition of all the vocals make it sound different. And then the addition of the outro kind of just refines to the chorus, or refines to the rap artists that we're going back into the verse again. And that's pretty it then for the rest of the beat. There is transition parts here and there where I remove certain elements, like I remove little snares here, and I remove little kicks here. So I had an extra snare hit there. So there's little tiny elements in there, here and there, and I just added them where I saw fit, just to kind of make the verses kind of create a bit of differentiation between the verses. Here, this would be considered a bridge or a middle 8, and it's just all the sounds without the drums, basically. And that's the whole beat, really. That's everything in the beat. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. If you want to get this beat for your mixtape, it's available at thecorporatethiefbeats.com. If there's any questions or anything that I didn't show in the tutorial, just hit me with a comment and I can always create another video. I don't want to make these videos too long, but I do want to show you exactly how I created the beat. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There's always a corresponding blog post with every beat that I make to show you screenshots of little sections and how just an explainer blog post for anyone that really wants to learn how to create these type of beats. I hope this helped you, and if anyone else out there it could help, don't forget to share it with them. This is Dan from the Corporate Thief Beats, and I'll check you out in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye.